This is a T-mat. It's a way of organizing your truck bed to where you can just cover it with this awesome grid, and then they have all these nifty little accessories that keep stuff from sliding around and holding it steady. But we thought that this wasn't enough different options over there, so we went ahead and ran through T-mat's website and came up with the new things ourselves to create a whole mess of new ones. Not only to show them how to design for mass production 3D printing, but also to show all the other products that they could be selling and why it could help the business. Okay, so looking at a standard T-mat, it's laid out in this little X pattern, or these small T's, just like this. These allow the things to grip onto there, and you can lay it out however you want to, and it'll keep your bags from sliding around or your boxes and boots and everything else from moving wherever you don't want it. The standard pieces that T-mat have are in these injection molded pieces that are hollow on the inside, but then have this main profile so that it can insert into there. You can get a little bit of control from this in different sorts of ways, but it's useful. They have had to create a mold for this in order to get it knocked out. But what's interesting about this is that when you have a system, a modular system like this, there's basically infinite things that you could do. But there's a question of which ones will people actually buy. But let's go ahead and look at this first. How would you actually design this if this was 3D printed? This is a large, chunky part, so it actually lends itself to printing pretty well. They have to do pretty thick walls, and they have to have all these relief patterns inside of there. This is fine, but it leaves a lot of spots for critters, bugs, and mud and gunk to get inside of there, so that over time you end up with a living ecosystem inside of your print bed, which might not be the greatest idea. So printing can create a lot of advantages here. So let's just go ahead and look at the most basic one. This is a very simple stopper. This is meant to be a low profile way to maybe keep a crate from moving from side to side. And you can put like 4 of these around the outer edge of something and it'll hold them down. Designing this is actually not as simple as it may look. Obviously you get to create a nice enclosed cube here, but many people would want to print this the way that it's inserted, which is printing like this. You wouldn't want to do that. There's support material underneath there. What a waste of time, what a waste of material, and what a waste of effort, because people would have to remove that. So it needs to be printed upside down. This is totally fine, except for the fact that now you have layer lines moving along the side of this thing, to where if you have a great big crate in the back of it all, or a version of it that is just really tall, you can end up having this snap off. So we need to reinforce these things here, because we don't want this to snap off while it's pressed into the mat when something pushes down just like that. So what do you want to do down there? Well, you want to make these things stronger. What we did was create micro features on the inside of it. After modeling that main T, what we did was create a few small 0.2 millimeter slits inside of it that run down the full length of this and then into the main body. And what this basically does is create some tree roots or some more interlayer connection so that this does not break off as easily. Right here you can see the slots coming out of the part, but generally they're buried and hidden. And this is a superpower of 3D printing, because those micro slots that reinforce it and make it stronger can be placed anywhere that you want to. So you can make the outer walls thicker and tougher, you can make the interior thicker and stronger, you can do whatever you want, all of that, which is really great. So now you end up with a part that is really reliable, because regardless of how much effort you put onto the side of this, it's not going to get broken off. And then of course, since they're being printed upside down, you want to apply chamfers to that first surface to make sure that there's no side extrusion or anything weird that direction. Otherwise you can end up with a kind of a cosmetic defect that you don't want to have to deal with. And it just makes them look more industrial. These parts look great, so they're ready to go inside of there and start holding something together. And right there, we just made 2 new products for T-mat that look chunky, look industrial, look tough and ready to go, are also highly visible, whereas they're not restricted to something like black if they're using something like injection molding. They could change out this color anytime they wanted to. But that's not the only thing. You don't want just stoppers around, you want all kinds of different things to hold stuff together. So we went ahead and designed one of these. Now this is interesting because this is actually a 2x4 holder. You put a 2x4 inside of there, and then you have another one at the other end of your truck bed, so that now you're just dividing your truck straight down the middle. But now you have a really interesting problem. You cannot simply print this the same way you printed these. These are printed vertical, layer lines going this direction. If we printed this like that, no amount of internal structure is going to make this tough enough for a big old 2x4 going down on it and then just reefing on it. That's going to split that off. So unfortunately, this has to be printed sideways, which puts the layer lines in this direction. Those layer lines are great because now everything is automatically super strong, but now you're required to have support right there. If you're designing something like this and you have just a small amount of support there, don't use auto-generated supports. You want this to be reliable and producible on any machine in any system at all, so that you can upload it to something like Teleport. This is really valuable to T-mat because they can create this design, stick it into Teleport, and they have 1,000 machines on tap that they can use for whatever they want. So like 3,000 to 10,000 of these could be knocked out in a day if they're really selling out gangbusters during Christmas. but you want your parts to be reliable and ready to go, so you don't want to use default support settings. So what you do is you design support underneath. The simple way of doing that is to just create a plane right here and then extrude support up to that surface with a 0.2 spacing. 0.2 is kind of the magic number. That is the layer height, that is the support spacing, and that is the size of a slit in order to create an internal microstructure. 0.2 is a wonderful number all the way through there. Half your nozzle width. Excellent. But now you have a set of little design support inside of there. And what's great about this is that while it would be knocked off inside of production, it can also be knocked off by the customer and it doesn't cause a big old problem. And since it's not like organic tree support that looks weird, it looks intentional and is part of TMAT, it's very easy for the customer to expect that and be okay with that. So that's an easy way to design around it. Now you have the part printed in the correct orientation, it prints super reliably and super tight, and you have something that is strong enough to take a 2x4 in the back of your truck. Okay, that takes care of the basic engineering of this. You have the vertical ones that are great for blocks and bricks and that kind of stuff, and then you have horizontal ones when you really need the strength in that direction because of thin features. Now you can actually start designing products. You have a baseline system that is super reliable, and designing products is what's the superpower of 3D printing. If we were making these, you would have to get a mold for each one of these and produce them in the same quantities and then store them up and keep it all around. With mass production printing, you don't have to do that anymore because we created a system through Teleport where anybody can just upload a file and you can sell one tomorrow or you can sell 1,000 tomorrow. And when you get that sale, one of our printers will fire up, print the item, and ship it straight to the customer for you. That means that you no longer have tooling cost, you no longer have warehousing and holding costs, and you no longer have wasted inventory cost. You can just create a bunch of products. So let's go ahead and create a bunch of products. The very first and simplest one we did was just a fishing rod holder. It's a nice small little clip, so you can put a couple of these in the back and then just lay your rod down inside of it. These are quick and easy to get knocked out. You can of course vary the size. You can make it bigger and taller, and now you have ski holders, which are terribly useful. We went ahead and redesigned one of these so that it has holes on the outside so that you can actually take a bungee over the top. So if you're holding down a rod or a fishing rod or anything else, you can actually strap it down into the holder itself. And of course, while we were at it, we knocked out a cup holder. The cup holder was a little bit weird because even though it's a vertical part like this, you don't actually want to print it like this because again, support down here underneath like that. But if you're printing it upside down, you don't want a big old flat cylinder on top. So what we did was we curved and domed the top of it all so that you don't have any overhangs again. And no can is going to be hurt by that. It's fine. It also allows the can to kind of center itself automatically inside of there. And then while we were in that mode, we made a couple more variations of these, making one for corners and just a flat rod and then just a flat space so that you had lower profile versions of it than these chunky blocks that are meant to take up a full slat of the TMAT. And then we made a big old large brick that was for a golf bag holder. At this point we thought, you know what, we don't really want this to look like a 3D printed part, so we went ahead and ran it off with a textured surface. That way it doesn't look printed at all. It looks like a really nice premium part that you can sell for $100 to somebody who spent $4,000 on their golf clubs, and now they have a thing that will hold their clubs exactly where they want it. And again, we put the holes in the side that are for the bungees. Interesting point on how we design these types of holes. Rather than trying to cut some sort of weird angled hole into it, what we just do is a hole on the outside and then taper it out so it flares out as it goes in. This number one allows the bungee to attach to it from any direction if that happens to come up, but also ensures that it's just really quick and easy to model and really reliable to manufacture. And then of course we fillet all the edges there so that there are no vertical edges that are sharp because that creates defects in manufacturing. And then this one. The reason this one is really useful is because it has a depth to it. It is able to hold something up really big because it can really bite in. So we designed one that is equivalent to this just to match it. 3D printing can do the same thing as this, but this mold costs somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 to knock out this big old thick chunky part with this long of a draft. So in order to simplify that out, again, I have no idea how many of these they sell, but with printing, they can start being profitable on the very first part. And you can knock out big chunky parts like this and they're fine. You also don't have those cavities where a bunch of bugs and critters can crawl up inside of, but you can also modify it and move it around as we've been demoing. But just to make sure that there was a replacement to this in case their molds ever get locked in China or locked in the United States or just wear out, they have a backup for that single production process. Then it came to a very interesting one. On TMAT's site, they had a bucket holder, which was a steel stamped part. And that is an awesome way of doing it. It's really reliable. But then looking at all of the accessories that TMAT had, there's kind of a challenge that they have to deal with. Most of the accessories need a different way of making it. They have some that are printed, they have some that are molded, there are some that are stamped steel. All of this creates an entirely different supply chain. The accessories guy needs to talk to an injection molder, and then talk to a 3D printer, and then talk to the steel manufacturer, and then keep track of all of these, maintain inventory. If somebody makes a design, they have to know how to engineer and design in all of these different disciplines. It's a fairly complex supply chain to manage. We just went ahead and redesigned them all with 3D printing. So with the bucket holder, it's pretty easy. You go ahead and make the 3-way one for 3D printing, and then you cut out a bucket-sized slot in the middle of it, which is a couple hundred millimeters in diameter. That's super easy to do, and then you can print it out. But what has happened here is that now a single person working with a single supply chain is able to create dozens of different products with no upfront cost at all, except the time of creating those products. There was no mold for this, there was no mold for this. All it was an upload, and then the product can be for sale. That is a completely different way of doing business. Rather than having $100,000 worth of molding cost in order to try some products and find out that some will be popular and some won't, you can just design the product and upload it. And then tomorrow, if you get 1,000 sales, you got 1,000 3D printers lined up in Teleport that will print and ship those items for you. So now you eliminate all the risk of trying new products and get all the upside of those products. If an item is really popular, you're able to get it created and try it out and find out that it's really popular. Alternatively, if an item is not popular, you can still hold it and have it around because it's held digitally. So if one guy a year orders it, you're profitable and you made an extra $10 off the guy that you otherwise wouldn't have had. But you got to test the product, find out if it was viral or not, and then even if it wasn't super popular, you get to keep it forever because you have no warehousing, you had no upfront cost to amortize, and all of that disappeared. So now you can create an entire set of systems and a whole bunch of new products that you can test, iterate on, and then build and develop that are still able to scale up to mass production with you, but you have none of the challenges of mass production, because mass production requires that you carve the design into stone, which is really expensive. Then you make a whole bunch of them and ship them around, which is really expensive. And then you store them, which is really expensive. And then not all of them will sell, which is really expensive, as opposed to being profitable on your very first one, short of time of design. But then we were able to create even new opportunities because 3D printing can make geometry that nothing else can make. So we went ahead and made a few more accessories. Those holes that I talked about for the bungee cords are one of those features that can't really be molded very easily because it's an undercut that they don't like very much. It's tough to stick a rod in and then pull it out when the rod gets wider. But we also decided this T-mat is really interesting and it's great for truck beds, but what if it just went vertical? I kind of could imagine this being on my shop wall and holding all kinds of tools and stuff there. So we thought, oh, we should probably design out a bunch of those, but there wasn't enough time for that in that video. So what we did was we just designed an elbow so that you could go from one T-mat and turn it up and go to the next T-mat vertically. So you can build up the side of your truck wall or up the side of your shop wall. Because you know what, for guys who are in 3D printing, this looks a lot like Gridfinity or any other sort of modular system to me, except that this is great. Here's the thing, this plate is injection molded just as it should be. This single, continuous, unchanging part should be molded. But all of the accessories on the inside, all the variation, all the experimentation should be 3D printed because these are really high mix but still having volume. But this is universal and the same and will never change. And you can have this mold for the next 20 years, knocking parts out, and it's never going to change. So accessories, which need to move and morph and grow and scale, are an ideal thing for mass production 3D printing. But if you're gonna make the same part over and over again, millions of times, the mold cost then is nothing, and you have enough turnover of this inventory that you know that you're gonna move them all out. So there's no reason to print something like this. And there's no reason to print a Gridfinity plate. So go ahead and subscribe and comment down below if you wanna see the next video where we design all the tool accessories for this that allow the T-mat to start to go vertical. Have a great day, everybody.